that wraps up Meditations of the Ephemeral, and it also wraps up the Imperial cycle. We did it, boys. It was a struggle.
In less than 3 hours as well. Jeez.
Yeah.
We're getting better.
Only one pack tonight, though, Andy. So.
So, I guess maybe it's a good point to just sort of reflect on the cycle as a whole, the 6 packs. So, who were the big winners and the big losers? Eoin.
Phoenix are the biggest winner, I think. And then after that, Crab did incredibly well from the later half of the cycle. Packs 1 and 2 were big enough for Crab, but packs 5 and 6 were monstrous for them between the Crisis Breaker and the Iron Mine and Talisman of the Sun. I think Lion did quite well all the way along. They got plenty of more useful tools. They got a lot of stuff early on, and they got the honored Magistrate, and they got a couple of just nice little Miwa Kabe guard, just some nice little cards that will fit in very well.
Ujiaki, nice little card. Yeah.
No, later half. Later half, so they got Ujiaki in the first 2, but that I think Lion did very well out of it. I think the losers were Crane really haven't crystallized yet. They've got a ton of potential, and this cycle really didn't put them kind of together into a cohesive sort of deck. I think because Crane are living and dying on their 2-costers, and we haven't figured out a good fate scheme to spend on 2-costers yet, because Assassination has made everyone leery of investing in them at all. I think Dragon did fine, very good in the early half, and the second half was a little more random. I think Scorpion didn't get a massive amount, but got a couple of nice pieces, and were doing really well anyway. Getting Seeker of Void was a massive get for them, and that's going to keep that and their very strong base set is going to keep them competitive for a while. Unicorn got a little bit better, but are mostly still bubbling along. Yeah.
Anyone else want to talk about winners or losers from the cycle? Anyone sort of disagree with any of that?
I disagree with the Dragon assessment. I actually think Dragon got a lot less from this set than literally everybody else. I would say that because they're trying to develop a lot more in the Monks line of things with Dragon, they've neglected they have not gotten as much for their main winning deck, which was the attachment deck, than other clans have gotten advancements in their decks. So I would say like Phoenix are the big winner, or a big winner. Lion are quite a big winner. Crab are a big winner. And I would disagree with the Dragon thing. Maybe I'm wrong though.
Pathfinder's Blade.
Yeah.
Huge for them. Absolutely huge for them.
But that's one card. That's one card.
Yeah, and it doubles down on the idea that you make a Knitting Master first turn and just go to town. And I think that's nice, but to coin a phrase, it's unreliable, Owen. So yeah, I like Dragon got a couple of nice things. Sumiko's decent if you can get the favor. Yuruma is better than I thought, but I'm still not completely convinced. Pathfinder's Blade is really, really good. Arguably the Crab Splash, ironically, is a good side. Like the Skirmisher is also quite good for Dragon, but it's just when the tiers move and when things kind of progress, it does. And because of a couple of things happening in other parts, like I think Dragon have dropped where other clans have got ahead. But that's just the nature of it. I definitely agree with your assessment on Crane. I'm very worried about what's happening with Crane. The idea that they haven't necessarily coalesced, I think, is fair. But maybe there are some better players out there who will put it all together and find that perfect deck that will make sense. I actually don't think Scorpion got a lot. And I'm interested to see how that plays out. Scorpion have had a fantastic qualification rate in most of the tournaments, but seem to be getting knocked out in the higher rounds in the single elim bracket. I'm wondering if that's in part because players who are experienced playing against them know what to do and know how to adjust. And that's on the assumption here, of course, that the Dishonor deck is the primary deck, which is not true. I know we tend to focus on a lot because we know John quite well, but we do have to acknowledge that the other style of deck is out there and is actually very competitive and does quite well. But that deck got a lot of...
That got much more help, I think, from this cycle than the Dishonor deck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. But I mean, there's a lot of good options in it. I mean, we've seen policy debate floating around, and that's kind of getting everywhere. Phoenix, we know, have done well. Lion may have dropped.
Yeah,
like they've got good additions, but they're even. And I think this kind of reflects a lot on Unicorn, and possibly even when you look at Crab. The better a clan and the better a deck is, the harder it is to get incremental improvements, because you're taking out a good character to put in a better character, whereas with the Unicorn you're taking out a terrible character to put in a good character, and that's a significant improvement compared to what they are. So I think Unicorn can definitely see the bottom tier from way back where they are, which is better than they were, which, I mean, some of the guys were talking about at the Madrid Kodai how players were going, players that they were saying were going 4-2 with Unicorn. So it's not to say that Unicorn can't compete and can't do well, but it takes more work. But I think they are better than they were, and the distance is beginning to close. And maybe once they start playing those decks, we'll actually find that they're starting to qualify themselves, and they don't have to have a challenger every time. But Crab.
Yeah. Justin, anything else to add on that?
No, not really. Phoenix made the biggest jump in terms of power level. I think Crab are probably the best deck in the environment at the moment. I think they received answers for a lot of the things that ailed them. They got reinforcement for some of their core themes, especially in the last pack with Iron Mine. And they're already good against the other top decks. I suppose Phoenix might be the only natural predator for Crab. But I think Crab have answers for that as well. I think Crab, or at least Crab, can bring in cards to help that matchup. I think Jade Tetsubo is going to see an awful lot more play than it has been. Yeah. So bizarrely, that could actually start to push. I mean, having moved away, that could actually start to push Phoenix back toward a Dragon Splash, because all the big problem cards for Phoenix now are attachments. But in doing so, they lose things like Guard Duty, which is very, very important for honoring. So it's an interesting place for Phoenix. All right, I certainly think Phoenix have jumped up to be one of the stronger clans. Crane, absolutely, have received very, very little. They got no real power card at all, and nothing that really helps them. I wouldn't regard Yashi as a power card. I mean, he's good. I mean, when he works, he's amazing. But when you take a look at how how the Crane personality base is constructed, like all their power is in their 2-cost personalities. So I mean, you could run Yashi as your single 5-cost, but I don't know. I just kind of wonder if Crane's best deck isn't just throw as many small little aggressive things on the table and attack. Crane are the big losers, I think. I'd agree that Scorpion didn't get a huge amount. Certainly, Scorpion Dishonor didn't get a lot, but Scorpion Military has risen in prominence, and that's pretty cool to see. I think Dragon to me seem very, very strong still. They do have some natural weaknesses. I think actually almost all the top clans now have at least one natural predator in the environment.
Except Crab.
No, Phoenix. I think Crab are up against the wall against
Really?
Phoenix. Phoenix.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I really do.
Tough.
The Haughty Magistrate is very, very difficult for Crab to deal with. I mean, so basically, Crab's
of course,
defense.
That's true.
Yeah. Crab's defense is Jade Tetsubo really against Phoenix. Haughty Magistrate is a real problem, and the other problem is Phoenix can also generate such crushing tempo early in the game that, as defensively minded as Crab are, they sometimes just get completely blown out of the game. So it's sorry, what's that on?
Our start is not fast. It is relatively slow.
Yeah, and if Phoenix get a fast start, then they can be. I mean, Phoenix. I mean, there have been games where I've broken Stronghold on turn 2. So, yeah. I mean, obviously, you're looking at the nut draw, but Phoenix's nut draw is beyond ludicrous at the moment. Like as I was saying, like you've got the whole kind of Tsuki and Prodigy of the Waves, but you're also looking at you've got policy debate. So I mean, on the absolute kind of nut draw, you're looking at having your entire your best card stripped out of your hand and losing 2 provinces turn 1, and then you're facing a monstrous turn 2 as well. So. And that's really hard for Crab to deal with. I mean, they are defensive, but they do take time to set up. But that said, Crab also have Assassination Way of the Crab, which almost wins the game for them. So it's a lot of it comes down to draw. But yeah, I tend to go along with what everyone said. Crane, big losers. I think Scorpion probably on the lower tier of that. Big winners, Phoenix, Crab, Lion got quite a bit to kind of reinforce where they already were. I think Dragon are doing fine. And Unicorn, they moved up a bit, but I still think they're at the bottom.
All right.
So.
And then, so there was a few sort of themes through the cycle. So things like the Magistrates, the favor actions, the Seeker and Keeper only cards. Did you sort of like the overall flavor of what we saw, Eoin?
Yeah, the Magistrates are interesting. I mean, like any cycle like that is going to have winners and losers, and there are definite winners and losers in the Magistrates. But you've got guys who are completely shaped the metagame in terms of Haughty Magistrate, Honor Magistrate, to an extent, Dog Magistrate, will all have a big effect in their clans decks and provide big answers to potential problems. And the weaker ones, they're harder to leverage and they're not helping out their clans. And unfortunately, a lot of the clans that are doing worse got the weaker Magistrates. So that sucked a little bit. But the theme is interesting. The whole kind of outlawing a particular type of character from participating in a conflict or affecting the outline of the conflict. Interesting. Tends to be on a small body as well, which is kind of nice that they went, actually, let's put this on a small body so they're not that influential on their own. They have to be doing what they do. So that is interesting. The favor cards, again, really mixed. Some excellent ones, generally on the higher cost end, and a bunch of really poor ones. And unfortunately, Unicorn's one's terrible, and Unicorn's Magistrate is bad. So that didn't help Unicorn out much. And lastly, the Keeper and Seeker cards, which were incredibly important worlds for the choices of the Seeker and Keeper roles. And I'm very interested to see what happens in the next cycle if there are Seeker and Keeper cards again, and if the buyer's remorse becomes unbearable for some clans. That they're like, oh my god, we've made a huge mistake. So I mean, I know Crab at the moment are ludicrously happy with Keeper because you get Crisis Breaker and you get Talisman of the Sun. But something could come along where you're like, oh man, I really wish we had that Seeker role now. And I think Lion will be going, oh man, I really wish we had Seeker. So yeah, interesting from that point of view.
Aren't the clans getting a second role though?
They are getting a second role for the winter court event Worlds, and for one tournament to be run by Stronghold stores at the same time. So there is another role. A lot
more limited than I thought.
We have seen another role in the Phoenix one. Is it impossible that there will be another role, a Seeker and Keeper role, introduced later on? Maybe. They haven't said how those new roles are going to work. Can you just pick them, or are they available to everybody? Are they going to be available to everybody and then there'll be a tournament and they'll become restricted again? We'll have to see.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. It'll be very interesting to see. I really want to see the new OP kits for January. And just as a side point, I want to just mention that the Irish Kodai in late January, has crossed 150 players pre-regged.
It's going to be a good one.
Right.
That's going to be a big event.
Pretty cool. Yeah,
absolutely.
Sweet.
Anyone else thoughts on the themes? Magistrates, Favourite Guard, Secret Keeper?
Yeah, the Magistrates were a nice idea. I think they were kind of hampered a little bit by theme because all of them are Bushi, and for some factions, Bushi is going to be better than others. I think while the Phoenix one is probably one of the best ones, they would have loved if that was a Shigenja. That would have made a big difference. Similarly, the Dragon one, which I don't think is going to see play, if it had been a monk, would have maybe changed a lot of things. Well, maybe not a lot, but just because they were kind of limited by kind of story elements and they were trying to keep it going along that. That was a bit unfortunate. Team came ahead of design, which is absolutely fine. The Imperial, discarding the Imperial favor is a bit of an interesting one because some clans are going to be able to get the Imperial favor better than others just by virtue of the kind of glory aspect, or possibly just raw aggression and being able to take rings. So yeah, as Owen said, the cheaper ones tended not to be as good, which was a shame. I think they were kind of costed based on, or the power level of the ability was costed based on the cost of the character, when in reality, if you have 3 of the Saki House Confident, you're only able to discard the favor once. So I would kind of question whether that's was as important as maybe it should have been. But, having an Ujiaki style ability on a 2-cost character might have been a bit much. So, who can say? It was good for what they were going for. They hit in a couple of cases and they missed in a couple of cases, which is perfectly fine. I have to admit, I've quite enjoyed going through the cards in this cycle. And I think that the cards like Waning Hostilities and Mono Aware which are kind of addressing the kind of core elements of the game and making changes from the get-go, are very, very interesting and suggest that the designers are willing to go in directions that kind of challenge us as players, maybe.
And I guess, yeah, Andy, do you think the nature of the favor has changed? I mean, aside from the discard cards, we've seen stuff like Censure and more cards triggering off that control of the favor as well.
I mean, at this point of the game, I was literally just thinking this as Baz was talking there. It was, if there was a card that was 2, 3, how much fate would I pay if there was a conflict card that would say just take the favor? So take it off your opponent, just take it if it's neutral, take the favor. How much would I pay for this? And I think I would. Yeah, go on, Baz.
2.
Probably 3 costs on a Scorpion character.
I was thinking 2, possibly 3 fate max for a conflict character that would take the fate, take the favor, and that's making a big statement about how powerful and how influential having the favor is these days in the game. So having it is really important. Using it to its fullest is absolutely important. Like having cards like Censure, having cards like Ujiaki, Kikiriyoshi, anything that piggybacks off of the favor is going to be absolutely massive. So I've really liked what they've done with it. I think as a design, they've really sort of included it and folded it into the game in a really nice way. It made it important and influential. So I like it.
I will say I don't like putting those cards in my deck because I can't guarantee I'll have it. And when I don't have it is when I really need those cards to work.
Yeah.
That's fair. Make sure you get it.
And just on that, maybe do you think that's sort of healthy for the game? I mean, we've talked a little bit. The favor it's one of the mechanics that, if it's winning, it helps you win a little bit more. Do you think that's still the case now with what we've seen from Imperial Cycle?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, it is one of those things. I mean, the game is sped up quite a bit in my experience from the start of the cycle, or at least it feels like it's going much, much faster. Maybe it's not, but it feels like it. Or at least the stakes in each conflict and each turn feel quite a bit higher now. Because when things go wrong, they can go so terribly, terribly wrong that the game quickly snowballs out of control. Whereas in just a 3-core environment, that wasn't as much of a concern. Like the ability to press an advantage wasn't nearly as high in 3-core as it is now. So the favor, I mean, the favor just as a single kind of +1 skill. I mean, it's still relevant. It's still absolutely relevant. Maybe not as relevant as it felt earlier in the environment, but now you've got a whole bunch of effects. Like you've got censure, you've got cards that discard the Imperial favor, which when they show up can be very game defining. So again, like as we've been saying, like some clans got the short end of the stick in that regard. Like Saki House Confident is just terrible. Things like Ujiaki and Kanjo District can literally just win you the game. So there is quite a disparity there. Whether that's by intention, I'm not sure. If one thing this cycle has taught me, it's to be a little bit, I don't know, just to give the game a little bit more time to develop before getting upset about stuff. I know it's it's a habit of mine. I'm hugely defensive of this game. Like I love this game to bits, and I am I'm hugely defensive of it. So anytime I see something going wrong, having seen those things happen in the past, I tend to get a little uptight fairly quickly, or I can. So no, I'm. Yeah, I think I've certainly as I said, one of the things I've learned is just to maybe give the game a bit more time to develop and a bit more time to grow, because it is in its absolute infancy at the moment. Even with these 6 packs, it's still in its infancy. So yeah, there are disparities, but from what I've seen, certainly in terms of like the thematic design, I've mentioned the thematic design a couple of times already in this cast, and I think that's one of the things that's really actually encouraged me, because it's very, very clear that people that design cards that are thematically that elegant are really invested in the game. You don't design cards that are you don't design cards that are that thematically beautiful if you're not hugely invested and hugely enthusiastic and really involved in the game. You just don't. You don't put effort in. So whatever misgivings I may have, I think from my point of view, there still are a few. There are definitely some. But whatever misgivings I have, I certainly think that the design team has bought a huge amount of goodwill from me, actually, from the Imperial cycle overall. But which is probably actually easy to say because I'm a Phoenix player and we suck. So just to undercut my any gravitas, but yeah, feeling very, very really enjoying the game at the moment, and feeling very, very positive about the future until I start getting crushed by decks again. So
and the state of the game looks very exciting. There's a lot of really competitive decks out there, and actually competing in tournaments appears to be a case of going, all right, what decks are going to be, what opponents are going to be there, what am I going to be facing at top level, of what cards do I need to play to actually work around them. So that rock, paper, scissors and how you adjust it is going to be very key. But I think now we need a beaver fact. I think this is where we're at. Are we ready for it, Eoin? I know we're waiting for Santa.
So beavers, their teeth grow throughout their lives. So this means that they can actually utilize the oxygen 18 concentration in the enamel of beaver teeth to track local precipitation, and you can use that in fossil beaver teeth to track precipitation at different points in history. So you can hindcast previous environmental conditions. Normally you have to go up to ice cores from the Arctic, but using them you can look at beaver teeth instead. So you can use beaver teeth to hindcast previous climatological conditions.
Beavers are fucking amazing.
Excellent stuff. All right, so that wraps it up. The next show is, I think our next Monday is New Year's Day, which won't be a good day for me. I think I'll be away. So we will.
The quiet ones in this going, fuck it, I'm not doing anything New Year's Day. I could talk about more alpha.
Hey, you guys go for it. You go to town on it. I won't be there.
I don't know. We should try be sane human beings for a night.
So we will figure out when our next show will be, and that'll be on Facebook or Twitter or somewhere. But yeah, thanks everyone for sticking with us. Thanks to Chat, who gave us some good laughs tonight and had a lot of fun chat. And that's it. So night all.
Good night, everyone.
Happy Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, happy
Happy
Christmas.
holidays.
Happy
Happy
Christmas.
New
Yeah.
Year.
Happy holidays.
Christmas.
All that stuff.